Hello aspirants, how are you? Today was the paper of your Public Service Commission, Odisha Public Service Commission, and we have seen that how the paper was very advanced in nature. As through our test series, we have predicted that the new pattern and the change syllabus will be seen in the upcoming paper, and going by the nature of paper since last 2 years, you will find that it's a marked improvement in the nature and character of the paper. What I mean by that the nature of the questions were having a marked improvement and they were more elaborated with regard to a concept. You can go and see our test series which we have given to you aspirants, and looking at the whole paper you will get the idea that preparing for Odisha Public Service Commission requires a more nuanced approach, and that nuanced approach at the GS score we are trying to fulfill those demands according to our preparation guidance and a strategy for your students. This year the paper was a bit tricky at times. Why? Because the factual information which has been given to you to solve the question in multiple choice options were at times linked with a concept, and then sometimes a context from the current affairs has been linked with it. For example, we'll discuss about that the Sengol, which was in news, about Buddhism, some question on Buddhism which was in news. So that news piece has been connected with in a manner to check and evaluate your understanding and your reading capacity and your gauging the main idea of the theme or any of the current affairs you are reading with it. Further, while you are reading the current affairs, you shall always be aware of linking it with the static part, either polity, history or economy. Even some parts of geography were very factual, but they were in the nature to check your understanding, the conceptual understanding. Okay, so that's it. We at the GS score, as I told you earlier, we have set a similar kind of pattern of paper, and those students who are with us are they are texting us that the paper was a kind of balanced approach for them, and they were able to solve many questions with that approach, and the help we are honored to provide that help. And in this regard I would like to again say this, that in the changed nature of the question patterns you shall be more aware of your happenings in your surroundings, and you need a proper guidance, a proper mentorship to look where are you going, where is your approach, how you are going to prepare the things in a manner which is very synchronized and which reflects your attitude as an aspirant. Because civil service is not an academic examination, it's a very competitive examination, and in a competitive examination like civil services, either state or UPSC, your attitude is checked with regard to the job you are going to aspire for, that is the administration. And in administration you need an alertness, you need a focused approach, and that focused approach is being checked in the preliminary part of the examination, which is prelims. So in this examination of prelims we are going to see how the questions of history first. I am Ashutosh Najha going to discuss the history part. Later on Virat sir will come for the polity part. We are all going to help you in this regard, and we are all going to see you not only the answers of the questions but what logics you shall use, how you can reason out the wrong answer, how you can find the right answer, and what logic can you deduce from the demand of the question, from the statement of the question. That will be our approach. It's not a simple discussion of answer A or B or C, but we would like to offer you a detailed discussion in the form of approach, right answer, and how to see the logic and the findings behind the question. Okay, so that's it. Let's start. I hope who have given the paper and our students or all of the students of Odisha Public Service Commission may qualify the examination. So let's start the session here. Our first question is on the revolt of 1857. The revolt of 1857 is a very famous revolt which has been called as a first war of independence by V.D. Savarkar, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, and in this regard the four statements have been framed, and by looking at the statement you will find that statement 1 says that Indore troops had joined the revolt against the wish of their king. Now this is not a simple statement you can find in your textbook, but a more nuanced approach with regard to going deeper into the centers of revolt. What were the centers of revolt? As you know, Indore, and Indore we have Holkars, Ahilyabai Holkars, some kings were there. So they were having the attitude of resentment against the British. And looking at the first statement, you can see that which asked the Indore troops had joined the revolt against the wish of their king is not correct. Why is not correct? Because it was the wish of their king which led them to join the revolt. Okay, there's a very famous book called The Residency Indore, which recounts the event. And on July 1st, on the 1st July, okay, on 1857, in the 1857, on the 1st July, the book recalled that a commander of the Indore kingdom, known as Sadat Khan, has fired the cannons at the residency of the Indore. He has fired the cannons at the residency of the Indore, and that cannon has been named as Fatah Mansoor. So this statement 1 is not correct, and we have to find the correct statement. So you can eliminate the wherever there are ones, because it's not the correct. The correct one, they have help. It was the wish of the king. Okay, so you can easily eliminate the one where you have. Now we have 3 and 4, 2, 3 and 4. So let's see at the question number, statement 2, that Mangal Pandey, the famous Mangal Pandey, was executed at the Meerut. Now, there's a catch here. The Meerut, in Meerut, we have the start of the revolt, 10th May, when the troops of the Meerut came towards Delhi by marching on the foot to reclaim and to proclaim Bahadur Shah Zafar as the leader of the revolt. It was a more ceremonial kind of thing. But Mangal Pandey was not executed at Meerut, but at Barakpur. He was executed at Barakpur. Barakpur is in Bengal. Barakpur is in Bengal, and it's touching part of Odisha. Also, you can see the orientation here. They are checking your facts and understanding. Okay, the next, so 2 is also not correct here. So we have option 3 and 4. So before coming on to the conclusion of 3 and 4, let's look at the statement 3 and 4, why they are correct here. The Tantia Tope was active both at Kanpur and Jhansi. It's correct statement. Why? Tantia Tope was the commander of last Peshwa, the son of the Bajirao II. He was the last Peshwa of Nana Sahib. The Nana Sahib was son of the Peshwa Bajirao II, and he was the commander and helped to conquer the areas from the British in the both Kanpur and Jhansi. Tantia Tope, we must have read, you guys must have read about the Tantia Tope and Jhansi Ki Rani. They were at the cooperation with each other to make a revolt against the British. Okay, so statement 3 is correct here. Statement 4, Sindhya sought refugee from the British at Agra. Yes, true. The Sindhya at Gwalior, they were helping the British, and then when they were attacked, he sought the refugee with the British at Agra. So our answer is 3 and 4 is correct here. Okay. So what is the takeaway? The takeaway is that you have to look at the periphery also. Periphery, matlab jo boundaries wale areas, the areas of the boundary, like the lesser known facts has to be prepared. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The next question is about the Home Rule League. The next question is about Home Rule League, the league which is very famous in the history of modern India. Where the Home Rule League was established. We have known in the history, we are getting to know in the history that it was established in 1916 by Annie Besant and Tilak. There were 2 Home Rule Leagues in India. One was of Annie Besant in Madras and rest of all of India, and one was of Tilak, and the Tilak was in Maharashtra except Bombay, okay, and Beror and the provinces of central India. So there was Home Rule League. Its main intention was to get the self-government rule by home, native people. That's called Home Rule League, where the rule is from the native people, home. And she was, Annie Besant was a Irish lady who was inspired by the Home Rule Leagues of Irish and Australian provinces who were under the colonial empire of British. They have established their Home Rule League, and she again thought to start this Home Rule League. Okay, and she was from Theosophical Society. So this Home Rule League is an important fact in an event in Indian history. Why? Because when the Congress was facing the downturns after the quell of the Swadeshi reform movement, and when there was a kind of third in the activities of the Indian National Congress, and when there were division between the extremists and moderates, so this Home Rule League was a new energy in terms of modern Indian history in the freedom struggle of India. At times, it was supported by many of the Congress leaders also, like M.A. Ansari and Jawaharlal Nehru, Motilal Nehru. It got the support. Even Gandhiji had supported the movement. So in this regard, Home Rule League is a very important fact and very important event in the history of India. Okay, so it is why it is has been asked in the examination, because it signifies a change. It signifies a change. Change means ek badlav. It signifies the change in the freedom struggle, that this was a new part in the freedom struggle of India. So in this regard, again, 4 statements have been given, and let's see the first statement here. S. Subramaniam Iyer, he was a very famous man, was an associate of Annie Besant. Annie Besant, when she established the Home Rule League, she was assisted by C.P. Nair and B. Subramani Iyer and C.P. Wadia. Subramaniam Iyer was an associate of Annie Besant. So statement 1 is correct here. So where we don't have statement 1, we can easily eliminate that. Okay. So Subramaniam Iyer was an associate of Annie Besant. It's a established fact. Second, the Home Rule League. We are talking about Home Rule League. So make a connection when you are reading the statement. It will not be confusing for you. It is started on behalf of the Indian National Congress. It's a very tricky one. Why? When we are reading the Indian National Congress and the movement and the freedom struggle at large, we tend to ignore the conceptual and the contextual part. Indian National Congress has supported the movement, but it has not been started on behalf of Indian National Congress. It was an independent movement aspired from the Home Rule League of Irish government. Home Rule League of Irish, and by the Annie Besant, she was the established factor here, and Tilak was in the Maharashtra. So it not started on the behalf of INC, but they have only supported. INC has only supported the Home Rule League. So we have to find the correct one here. So 1 was correct here, and 2 is also a correct incorrect option. Why? Because it was not on the behalf of INC, but it only supported the movement. Next statement, it changed the name to Swaraj Sabha. Now, this is a very interesting fact. Why? Because some of you might not be aware of this fact, or we have said this kind of paper in our prelims also, where we have tried to form such a statement which are lesser known and which connects to a larger part. Like this is Swaraj Sabha. Many of you might be aware of the Swaraj Party. You might be confused with that. But here is Swaraj Sabha. What happened? In the 1920s, when the Home Rule League was on decline, it was on decline due to some factors like the appeasement of moderates and some of the statement of the Montagu in 1917 has promised that it will be providing some representatives for the Indians, so they can be in the representative council of the legislative and executive council. So it has placated some of the moderates and the Indian National Congress candidates, and the Home Rule League was on decline. Further, Annie Besant and Tilaks were withdrawn from the public life, and they have been arrested. So this was the fact that when it was on the decline, so in 1920s, its name was changed to Swaraj Sabha, and its president was M.K. Gandhi. Its name was changed to Swaraj Sabha in 1920, and it later merged with the Congress, which elected Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi को elect किया Swaraj Sabha. It has been changed in the Swaraj Sabha and elected Mahatma Gandhi at its head. So the statement is correct here. 1 and 3 are correct. So we can see 1 and 3 are in this option. 2 is incorrect. So you can say that 1, 3 and 4 can be the answer. But let's look at the option 4. The option 4 says the flag, its flag had the Union flag on it. Union flag. Why this option has been set? The logic behind it, that while you are reading the Indian National Congress, any other movement like Swaraj Party or Home Rule Leagues, which are a marked change, so you must be aware of the associated facts related with them. So they have a flag, and they are unique in the sense that in their flag, you can see if this is the flag of the, you can see that if this is the flag of Home Rule League, okay. So on this part, on the upper left part, they have a Union Jack on their flag. So it's a 1, 3 and 4, option C is correct here. Option C is correct here. I hope you got the point and the logic behind that, why 1 is correct, 2 is incorrect, 3 is correct and 4 is correct one. So let's move on to the next question. That question is question number 61. Question number 61. The question number 61 says, it's on the theme of the question number 61 is on objective resolution, of Indian Constitution. Okay, so we have to find that which of the following statements are correct with regard to the objective resolution of Indian Constitution. This objective resolution is a marked event, is a very significant event in the Indian Constitution when it was adopted after being passed as a resolution. So its resolution was moved on 13th December 1946, but it was passed on a later date. Fine. So this date has been asked here, and they have asked about the author of this resolution. Most of we know that this has been moved by the J.L. Nehru. Then who was the author? It means they are checking your awareness part. Curiosity. What is your curiosity as an administrator? That they are checking here. They are trying to evaluate. So the author of this resolution was, the first statement says, was B.R. Ambedkar. No, he was not the author. Author was J.L. Nehru, the first Prime Minister of independent India. So J.L. Nehru was the first Prime Minister who has authored the resolution. Now next question is about the adoption date. It was adopted by Constituent Assembly on January 22, 1947. A date has been given, and this date has an importance, as I told you this earlier, that it was, the resolution was moved on 13th December 1946, but it was adopted on this date, January 22, 1947. So the takeaway is, while you are reading some important date and events of some important culture, cultural or historical importance, political importance, which has a change and marked as a change event, so must be aware of the dates. When you are reading the factual part, your understanding shall move and gradually expand to the other parts which are important. So it's a kind of curiosity thing. So 1946, it has been moved and passed on and adopted on 22nd January 1947. 22nd January 1947. Okay. 1 is wrong here. So wherever you are finding 1, it's wrong. Easy for us, but let's see the other, because 2 is correct here. So the next one is, the goal of this resolution was to declare India as a sovereign, socialist, democratic and republic. Some of you or any of you might have read about the resolutions and the proclamation under the objective resolution. The terms and the writing of this objective resolutions have said that this objective is to make India sovereign and democratic republic. So here you can find a word socialist has been added. It makes it wrong. Why? Because socialist has not been added in the objective resolution. It has been added in the preamble of India, preamble of independent India by 42nd Amendment. 42nd Amendment 1976. Fine. So this was the not socialist one, but it was on democratic republic, sovereign republic, and the ideas of liberty, fraternity, fundamental rights. That what its main intent was to highlight what guides the Indian nation in its objective. The objective of Indian nation towards its people. That's why we can see that the starting sentence and the wordings of the preamble is "We the people of India." Okay, so that has to be read along with this objective resolution and its intent. So statement 3 is also incorrect here. 1 and 3 are incorrect. So we have 2 and 4 as an answer. Let's see the fourth option here. This resolution later framed as the preamble of the Indian Constitution, like just we have to discuss there. So option 4 is correct. It was the preamble. It became the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Preamble means the philosophy of Constitution. Preamble is the introduction of the Constitution. It's philosophy of the Constitution. Okay. So I would suggest that when you are reading the preamble, you must go into the different facts and analysis of preamble, different Supreme Court cases on the preamble, it's a part of constitution or not. That is very important from the examination point of view. Okay, so our answer is B, 2 and 4. 61B, 2 and 4. Next question we have is 62, and this again coming from the same era, and it's on Constituent Assembly of India. Constituent Assembly was the assembly to frame the constitution for India, and it has came into existence through the cabinet mission plan. So you can find this statement in the question itself. Getting the logic here. So the Constituent Assembly was constituted under the scheme of the cabinet mission plan, the mission plan which came in 1946, and it proposed that there shall be a Constituent Assembly of India constituting of Indian princes and the representatives from the Indian provinces through elections. Fine. And the next statement you will find that it on the number of seats and the distribution. And why this statement has been framed, three options has been framed to signify the the number of seats which has been distributed, because in the history of India, in the polity, it shows that how the intention was moving toward making it an inclusive institution. Okay, so in this regard, let's see that one is correct here. Statement 2, the total strength of the Constituent Assembly originally was 369. This is a wrong statement. Why? Because figures have been changed here. It is 389. 389 was the number and the total strength of the Constituent Assembly of India. Okay. So it's 389. And the third statement, 296 seats were allotted to the British India. 296 seats were allotted to the British India. Okay, this is correct. Why? Out of 389, 292 were for the provinces and plus 4 seats were for the Chief Commissioner provinces. Chief Commissioner provinces which were under the control of the British, and those were like Delhi, Ajmer, Berar, etc. Okay, and those were the Coorg and British, of course, one British, Balochistan. So these were the 4 seats. So it makes 296. So its third statement is correct here. Okay. So next statement is number 4. 73 seats have been allotted to princely states. No, not 73, but 93 seats have been allotted. 93 seats have been allotted to the princely states, because if you add this number, you will get the 389. You will get the 389. Okay. So it was, the answer will be 3, 1 and 3 are correct here. Okay. 1 and 3 are correct. If you add this number, you will get this 389. So it's a more kind of reasoning. If you don't know the answer, you can find a better reasoning if you have some awareness of this question and the statement. So answer is D. 1 and 3 are only correct in respect to the Constituent Assembly. So let's move on to the next question here. The question number 71. Sengol. It was in news. Why? Due to it has been given to the new to the Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, and this signifies the transfer of power. It has been given by the saints and adinams of the Tamil Nadu, and such a statement you can find in this question. Okay, that's the basic facts, and the awareness has been evaluated or the checked by the examiner, by the commission. Okay, so with respect to the following statement are correct. We have to find the correct. Always mark correct or incorrect before attempting the answer. That's very important, because at times we make this mistake of not able to find the correct or incorrect. Anyone can make this statement, make this mistake. So we have to find here the correct statement with regard to Sengol. It was a great event when the Sengol was given to the Prime Minister Modi, Sri Narendra Modi, and its history goes back to the 1947. Its history goes back to the 1947 when the Sengol was presented to Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, by the saints or adinams of the Tamil Nadu Mat. Okay, and it signifies the transfer of power. So first statement relate to this, that Sengol signifies the transfer of power from British to Indians. Okay, is correct statement. Why this correct? Relate to the second statement. It symbolizes the Marathi culture of transfer of power from one king to the other. While the second statement is incorrect. Why? It's not the Marathi culture, but as I told you, it's a Tamil culture, and it was mainly during the time of Cholas. It was mainly the time of Cholas. The Cholas were the kingdom in the Tamil Nadu, okay, and they were the called imperialist Chola also. We'll discuss about them in the later classes. So they were not of the Marathi culture, but the Tamil culture, Cholan cultures, and it also signifies the transfer of power from the one king to the other king. So similarly, you can find the correlation that it transferred the power from British to Indian, and it was a mere ceremonial kind of thing that Sengol has been presented to the new elected Prime Minister of India, Sri Jawaharlal Nehru, and this signifies the transfer of power. So that makes statement 1 correct, but 2 is incorrect due to the factual part. And this factual part has an awareness connected with the culture, which is Tamil culture. You must be aware that how the Sengol came. So Commission wants you to be more aware and more curiosity in nature. Okay, so this is the transfer of power from one king to the other, and also in the transfer of power, the king who has been given the Sengol is being supposed to be righteousness, justice part. It's a moral obligation on the king to uphold the righteousness and the justice. That signifies also called Semmai. Third statement. So we have 2 as incorrect, and you can easily mark the 2 which are which are in the options, and you can be able to eliminate these options. Okay. Third statement is the Sengol has been reintroduced. Reintroduced word has been added here to confuse you, you aspirants. So in the new Parliament Bhavan of India. So whoever have been aware of the current affairs, who have seen on the TV or the media part, even on the YouTube, so you will find that the Sri Narendra Modi was taking this Sengol into the newly made Parliament of India. Aspirants, you can also see who are the newer aspirants who have been the first attempt at in the Odisha Public Service Commission. They can also see that what is the design of this or the architecture of this new Parliament, a kind of awareness part. You can see the architecture, that what in which form they have been made. What is the new architecture of Parliament of newly Parliament of India? So this is statement 3 is correct here. 1 was correct, 3 is correct. So we have to see 4. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru accepted Sengol at 10:45 p.m. on August 14, in the night of the intervening night of the August 14 and 15, 1947, from the Adhinam of Kerala. Adhinams are the priest of not Kerala but Tamil Nadu. If any one of you might be aware of this, that is was a Tamil culture, you will be able to eliminate this by using the logic and reasoning that they are not from the Kerala but Tamil Nadu. So see the arrangement of the facts. They are going to check, their intention is to check your understanding and your awareness level, the ability to reason out the positive and negative statements. Okay, that's their intention, and in this regard you will find that it was Jawaharlal Nehru. This fact is correct. 10:45 p.m. August 14 from Adhinam of Tamil Nadu and not Kerala. So it makes a statement 4 incorrect and 1 and 3 as correct statement. So answer would be A. Answer would be A. 1 and 3. I hope this is clear to you. Next question is question number 94. Question number 94. The question number 94 is on Rig Veda, the Rig Vedic part, most important part in the ancient history of India, where we only have the literary evidences to construct the history of that period of time, the Rig Veda time. The time period of Rig Veda is from 1500 BC to 1000 BC. After that period, you will find the later Vedic period. Till now, this is established fact for Rig Veda. And history is an evolving process. You must be in tune with the regular current affairs of history. And we are going to provide you current affairs in the upcoming classes with regard to the history. And the whole syllabus will be covered there. So it mentions about the Rig Veda. We have to see the statement and we have to find the correct option. Okay, make it habit to find the correct option and bracket out the correct option. Okay. So it mentions, the Rig Veda mentioned the Aryans as a cultural community. Now this is a debatable thing. We'll come to that. Fine. The second statement says, Why debatable? Because they mention as a tribal, but they also show some as a cultural community. Why? Because Aryans have their own culture. The Rig Veda signifies some cultural elements too. Okay, that we have to consider here. Second statement is has many commonalities with the Avesta. Now, a contrast has been given. Why? To check your understanding, because even reading in the NCRTs of a standard NCRT book, you will find this name Avesta. The full name of Avesta is Jenda Avesta, and it's from the Iran, and it's the writing of this book is similar to the writing of the Rig Vedic period. So that's a contrast and comparison between the two have been asked to check the awareness part and curiosity part of candidates. So let's see that is correct or incorrect. It has many commonalities with Avesta. Yes, it has some commonality with Avesta because they both worship the fire, they both revere the horses. Okay. Further, we have some commonalities and in name that in Rig Veda we are finding Soma, a kind of drink, and they are calling it Homa. They are calling it Homa. Okay, they are calling it Homa. Further, they have we have a word called Dasa. We have a word in Rig Vedic called Dasa who have been conquered, and we have Daha. They have a word called Daha. So there is a definite commonalities with the Avesta. So it's a 2 is a correct statement here. So wherever you don't find the statement 2, you can eliminate at the first round. So next statement 3rd, it mentions the Saraswati as Nadi Tarna. Nadi Tarna, the Rig Veda says Nadi Tarna as the pure river and the river which is very sacred and revered. Iske bahut samman, that is very respected river. So of course we know the Saraswati was an important river. The present day Ghagra Hakra, Saraswati was an important river in the time of Rig Veda, and it was also called very pure and respected. So Saraswati is called the Nadi Tarna. Statement 3 is correct here. Statement 4, it indicates that the Dasyus kept cattle for dairy products. Now this statement has been set or been framed with regard to the economy and social economic activities of Rig Vedic Aryans. Okay, so what does it mean? That the Dasayus were the people or the local kings who have been conquered. They were called Dasyus. Okay, so these Dasyus, it has been said in the Rig Veda, they were having the produce deducted from the dairy animals or the dairy products. They were consuming the dairy products, and it indicates through the writings of the Rig Veda that the Dasyus kept cattle for the dairy product. They don't sacrifice the cattle, no cow slaughter on the cattle slaughter. They were using for the dairy products, and as you know, this was a tribal society, tribal economy. In the tribal economy, we do have a community there, and community keep the cattle for their own consumption. The products of the cattle are for their own consumption. So in this regard, 2, 3, 4 are correct. Why I have made it debatable? Because this is not a cultural community but a tribal community. It's a tribal community because we are calling in the history of India Rig Veda as a tribal polity, tribal society. Why? There is a clan system. That's why. Though we can also call it a cultural community, but it will be a narrow interpretation. So based on that, I will like to say you, because 4 is also correct. 1, 2, 3 in the 4 has not been given. So according to me, this answer shall be 2, 3 and 4. We'll update you on this, but for this time around, this 2, 3 and 4 are the best options which seems to be correct with regard to the Rig Veda. So I hope this is clear to you. Next question, we have the 95 number question. We have 100. So the question number is 95. In the 95th question, we have to consider the statements regarding the Parthians, and we have to see that which of the following are correct. Okay, so Parthians, were a part of the invasions which came in India in the post-Mauryan period. In the post-Mauryan period, after the decline of Maurya, we have a post-Mauryan period. After decline of Maurya, so in this post-Mauryan period, this northwest part was again vacant, was again in the vacuum, and whenever the northwest part has been in the vacuum, it saw the attack and invasions from the Central Asian people and the kingdoms into the India. So in this regard, we can find the 4 statements have been framed to check your awareness part and your broad understanding that how you can come to a conclusion with regard to the statement being positive or negative. In this regard, the first statement says that they had migrated from Iran. So I told you Central Asian part, Iran, you can find the rough sketch of map, you can find is Afghanistan, there's India, Iran. So they have migrated from the Irans, they were called Parthians. So statement 1 is correct. So wherever you don't find the 1, kindly make it negative first. So Parthians were from the Iran. It's a established fact, and they have migrated from Iran, and they first came to conquer from the Iran in Afghanistan and then from the northwestern India. So the next statement follows the first statement, the logic that says that they set up their kingdom in the eastern India. Eastern India, no, it's incorrect, because I just told you it was in northwest part of India where they have established their kingdom. So you can find the correlation and logic behind each statement. That's an advancement in terms of the approach of Odisha Public Service Commission. The next statement says, statement 2 is incorrect here. Statement 3 says that Gondophares was a Parthian king. Yes, he was a Parthian king who ruled from 19th CE to 226 CE, or you can say AD. He was the founder of the Parthian kingdom in India. Okay, he was the founder of the Parthian kingdom in India. So that makes statement 3 as correct. So we have 1, 3 as correct here. So let's see statement 4. They are mentioned together with the Shakas in the Sanskrit text. Yes, the Sanskrit text of the post-Mauryan times and the pre-Gupta times have elaborated on the nature and the polity of Shakas and Parthians, even Kushanas. Indo-Greeks were called Yavanas and Shakas were called Shaka, and the Parthians were called Pallavas. Not Pallavas but Pallavas. Pallava. They were called Pallava. So this statement 1, 3 and 4 are correct. So answer is B here. Getting the point? Answer is B. So let's move to the next question we have, 96. The 96th question is on the Sangam literature, the literature which is very famous and important part of your syllabus. And on this you can find you will be expecting some question from the Sangam literature each in every year, but the statement has been framed in a way to make it a more advanced understanding. So let's see the questions and the statement here, and we have to find the correct statement. The first statement says that the narrative texts are called Milkanakku. Now we all read about the text of the Sangam and their nature and the content, but we have to see their nature in terms of what they were, narrative or didactic. So these two statements have been framed here. First statement is correct. Why? Because it's obviously called Milkanakku and it's called a major text. It's called major text. Okay. Narrative texts are called 18 major texts. Then we have statement 2. Didactic texts are called Kilankanakku. Of course, these are the one of the 18 minor works. 18 minor works, and the nature of this is didactic. Didactic means to preach the morals and the value of war. Okay, so these two statements are correct here. The third statement is that Thirukurukkal is a major Sangam text. If you are aware of the Sangam literature, you will find that one writer was Thiruvalluvar and he wrote the Thirukkural, and it's one of the important text of Sangam literature, and it has a theme of ethics, war and morals. So this is an important part of Sangam literature. Statement 3 is correct here. Next statement is number 4. Many Sangams were work of the Brahmana scholar. Now see, it's not of a factual part, but it's intended to check your understanding. Though Brahmanas were in the form of many priestly classes and they dominated the scene, but most importantly, they were not the Brahmanic, but the works of many more poets, not only the Brahmanical poets. So statement 4 is incorrect here. So we have to find 1, 2 and 3. Option is A. You must be aware of the nature and the content of the text of Sangam literature. Answer is A. 96. Next question is 97 and we have to match the correct pairs here. Amok Varsha. 4 persons have been asked to match the correct ones. So we have first one is Amok Varsha. Second one is Pampa, he is a poet. Nania, poet. And the fourth one is, these all three are poets and one is a king. He was also a poet. So first statement you can see a king and a Kannada poet. Yes, he was a king of Rashtrakuta dynasty. He was the king of Rashtrakuta dynasty, the dynasty which from the 7th to the 10th AD in the central part of India and the Deccan part of India. So of course, when it's the central part of India and the Deccan part of India, so in Deccan we are finding also the presence of Kannada. And he was a famous poet who wrote a poem known as Kavi Rajmarga. Who wrote Kavi Rajmarga. It was a poem written by him. So statement the pair 1 is correctly matched here. Eliminate 2 and 4. So Pampa, Kannada poet under Jain influence. Yes, he was. Correct match. Naniya began writing the Mahabharata in Telugu. Most famous one. Naniya was a Telugu poet. Pampa was influenced by the Jainese scholar. And similarly, Ponna, who was also a Jain poet, he was influenced and he wrote the Ramayana on the themes of the Ramayana. So these 4 pairs have been asked. These 4 all are correct here. All are correct. Why? None of the above are incorrect. They have been matched correctly. So in this regard, we can say that 97 answer is D. Let's move on to the next question, 98. The next question is on the famous religion which has the origin in India. It's about Buddhism and we have to find the correct statement here. It was patronized by the Pala kings. Established fact, Palas were the kings of Eastern India, kings in the Eastern India, and they have patronized Buddhism. Why? Because when you're reading the Pala, you will find there's a person named Dharmpala and he establishes the Vikramshila University. Okay, so Dharmpala established Vikramshila University, and if any of the kings have been establishing the Vikramshila University or any of the patronage being given to a religion, so it signifies that they have been patronizing the Buddhism. Statement 1 is correct. Buddha was worshipped as a god in the Mahayana Buddhism. It's again a correct statement. Why? Because Mahayana Buddhism is called a larger wheel. Why? Because it's a sect of Buddhism where it has been said that Buddha is a god, and it has been established fact that Mahayana Buddhism is called larger wheel. So larger number of people can come into the fold of Buddhism. That was the intention behind Mahayana, and the larger number of people, they will only come if you are having the synchronization with the prevailing religious sentiments, and the prevailing sentiments were of Hinduism. So it was a godly culture. So of course the Mahayana Buddhism has been made and the Buddha as a god. Similarly, a contrast has been given in the statement 3, which says that Hinayan considered Buddha as an ordinary being who attained nirvana. Correct statement, both Mahayana and Hinayan were opposite. Hinayan said it's called lesser wheel. Why? Because it's the original form of Buddhism where Buddha was not a god but a human being who has attained the nirvana or the freedom from the cycle of birth and death. That's called nirvana. This only can be achieved by enlightenment. So they don't consider the Buddha as a god but as a simple living being. So it's all three are correct here. The statement 4, Vajrayana focused on the Hindu practices. Now Vajrayana was the third sect. You can see the intention and the objective that 3 sects of the Buddhism has been asked here. And Vajrayana, which came in the 9th century AD, was inspired by the Tantrikism form of Buddhism, of Hinduism. And why Vajrayana? Vajra means a kind of thunderbolt, and you can find the gods of Vajrayana sect of Buddhism having the thunderbolt, and that's why they have followed the Hindu practices. They were influenced from the Hindu practices. So you can find answer is D. All are correct here. So takeaway is, while you're reading Buddhism, read on all related matter and the differences and the contrast and the different changes which have been coming into the scene of Buddhism. Okay. Second last question, 99th number question. It's on the medieval India, and the one famous Sultan of Delhi has been asked, Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji was an imperialist and expansionist in nature, and that's why he took some steps to organize his army, and to organize the army, he took the steps to organize the market, and he brought some market reforms, and this was the important change in the medieval India. And the intention of commission was to check your approach to reading the history. What changes you can notice in the history part. So the first statement says that he set up 3 distinct markets. We have to find the correct one. 3 distinct markets, one for food grains, one for clothes, and the third for horses. It's correct statement. Why? He was the pioneer in founding the 3 kind of markets in India at that moment of time. His intention was to organize the market and the prices. By organizing the prices, you will have a price control and you will not be facing the inflation. Similarly, weights and measures have also been organized by Alauddin Khilji. So his intention was to keep a stable economy and the price control, and price control was having the intention to organize the army because he was the first one to pay the army in cash. Okay, so for regular flow of cash, you need proper revenue, and proper revenue can come only through the market reforms. This was the intention of the commission to ask the statement. Further, a fact has been asked here that a Sahna was posted in the market. He was the head. Sahna was the head of the each market. Okay. The peasant had to pay land revenue in kind. Of course, I told you the caste system was there, so no kind was postponed, and they all wanted to have the king wanted to have the revenue in cash. He told that whatever produce you have, don't pay me in the produce, but sell your produce in the food grain market, and whatever cash you get, the state share has to be given in that form of cash only. So 1, 2 are correct, 3 is incorrect here. For the statement, slaves were transacted in the market during this time. Of course, besides clothes, food grains and horses, there was slave markets. So 1, 2 and 4 are the correct statements here. Answer is C. Question number 9, last question for history. We have 100th number question, and it's on the subsidiary alliance during the British India. The very infamous alliance by which British has a conquest of India. That's why this question has been asked to check and evaluate your understanding of the subsidiary alliance. 4 facts and events have been given. With regard to the first statement, the statement says that Indian rulers signing the alliance would agree to the posting of a British resident. So this subsidiary alliance has these provisions that in the native Indian states who is signing the subsidiary alliance, subsidiary means I am your subsidy. So the native states have a subsidiary status. So when you have a status of a subsidiary, it means you are having a nomination from the company in your own court. So that makes the statement 1 as correct, because British resident was appointed by the Governor General and the British Parliament at times. Second statement, Indian ruler could employ any European in his state. Not correct. Why? Because when you have a British as a conquestor, you have a subsidiary alliance status, so you cannot employ anyone, any European who is a competitor of the British. So this statement is incorrect. Why? Because British wanted to avoid any competition from the other European powers. So of course, going by the logic and the reasoning, we will find that the European powers cannot be allowed by the Britishers to employ in the native states. So statement 3, the Indian ruler would cede a part, cede means giving away, part of his territory for the payment of subsidy, is correct statement. In the subsidiary alliance, the expenses of the British resident and the posting of the army shall be borne by the native ruler, and if he is not able to pay the said revenue or the subsidy, he has to give away his territory. So it was a form of conquest. You can correlate here. It was a conquest in the intention. That's why a territory has to be given away to the British ruler, to British by the native ruler. Okay, so the statement 3 is correct, 1 is correct. 4th, expenses of the British army in the state to be shared with the company. Okay, in this regard, the expenses of the British army in the state to be shared with the company, no, they are not going to share the expenses. Why? Because the British were the supreme here. So if anyone is above you, he will not be able to share the expenses along with you. ठीक है, तो वो शेयर करते नहीं, तो इसमें obviously it's a not logical being. So we have 1 and 3. 1 are correct here. Only 1, 3 are correct. Option D, 1 and 3 are correct here. So that the end of the history discussion. We will have the next lesson in the polity by Viraj C. Rane sir. So see you all. Good luck.
Hello, my friends. I hope you have done your prelims well. Questions in prelims were expected on expected line if you consider what GS score was trying to analyze from this prelims. Okay, so we had expected questions to be on these lines, especially polity subject. Others also, but I can speak for polity. So we had in a way predicted questions to be on this line, and that is how we have also had built our test series. So our students basically were at better position. All right, they were at better position when it came to today's prelims examination. I hope you also have done the same. एक बार answers देख लेते हैं. One thing that I would like to mention at the beginning itself. Now it does not matter what you are scoring. If you are scoring good, so good. If you are not scoring good, so even then don't take it to your heart. It's just an examination. ठीक है, revamp your strategy. If we could help in any way, come to us. And those जिनका पेपर अच्छा गया, who are scoring well, I will request them to take a gap of 1 or 2 days. ठीक है, get your energy back and then get into the preparation of mains examination. चलो, let us start with the first question. This is one of those questions now that I like. Why? Because here a bit more application of mind is necessary. Look at this question. Which of the following statements are correct in respect to the Election Commission of India? Expectation on the question related to Election Commission was there because India is looking at 2024 general election. It is also looking at elections in 5 states in India, 5 states. So this question was basically expected. Now what do I like about this question? देखो UPSC state services, in state services and also in civil services to an extent, what is required is you should have the knack of picking the right answers. Alright, sometimes it may happen that more than one answer may seem to be right. What you have to do is you have to choose the most right answer, and this is something that state services and UPSC both of them mention on the first page of the question paper. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे the first statement is it is an autonomous legal body. The statement is not completely wrong. It is not completely wrong. All right. But let us look at other statements also. Part 15 of the Indian Constitution deals with elections and election commission. Yes. Article 324 to Article 328. The election commission was established on 25th January 1950. Yes. Fourth statement, Article 332 provides bar on the interference of court in electoral matter. This statement is completely wrong. This statement is completely wrong. Now, we have 3 statements. Alright. No option provides us an alternative जहां पे where there are 3 statements mentioned, 1, 2 and 3. So obviously we have to pick up only 2 statements. Why I have not picked up first to be the right statement even though it is not completely wrong? The reason for that is simple. I have to choose the most right answer. And why are 2 and 3 most right? The reason 2 and 3 are most right because this particular sentence has a small error. It mentions it to be election commission to be an autonomous legal body, which it is. But if you go into more specifics now, you will find it is a autonomous constitutional body. And this is the difference between whether you cross the line to write mains or not. Okay. 2 and 3 statements are completely right. Statement 1 gives you a chance. Statement 1 basically has a degree of error in it, and that degree of error has to be recognized by you. Alright, that degree of error has to be recognized by you. So here 2 and 3 are right, so our answer will be A. Our answer will be basically A. Let us move on to the next question. Okay, this is one of the simplest questions. If you have gone through local self-government bodies well, if you look into previous year's question papers of Odisha also, if you look into previous year's questions of Odisha and other state services also, what they tend to do is they tend to emphasize more on local self-government bodies. That is why when we were preparing our students for this examination, what did we do? We also paid extra attention to this particular chapter. Alright. And most of the times what happens is recommendations of committees are something that you are required to know. Which of the following committees recommended for the creation of Nyaya Panchayats at the village level? Okay, Nyaya Panchayats at the village level. The answer to this question is D, Ashok Mehta Committee. Alright, Ashok Mehta Committee, if you look into it, now it is considered to be chronologically it is the second committee which looked into Panchayat Raj. First was Balwant Rai Mehta Committee and second was Ashok Mehta Committee. All right. So Ashok Mehta committee is the right answer. Ashok Mehta committee recommended that there should be Nyaya Panchayats and Nyaya Panchayats should be headed by judges, which will look into judicial matters. Third question. Third question is again one of the easiest questions, one of the easiest and the most basic questions. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of Attorney General of India? First statement, Attorney General of India is part of Indian judiciary. No, Attorney General is part of executive. All right, he is part of Union Executive. Second statement, Attorney General of India is appointed by the President on the advice of Chief Justice of India. Again wrong. Attorney General is appointed on the advice of Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. All right, Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. Third statement, the term of office of Attorney General of India is not fixed by the Constitution. Correct statement, it is not fixed by the Constitution. He holds the office during the pleasure of President. Pleasure of President means President might dismiss him at any point of time, or President might ask Attorney General to resign at any point of time. There is no security of tenure to Attorney General of India. Attorney General of India has the right to take part in proceedings of both the houses of the parliament, absolutely, because his help would be required by the government for the purpose of law making, policy making, and understanding the ramifications of that particular law and policy. Alright, so Attorney General, with respect to Attorney General, statement 3 and statement 4 are right, hence our answer is D. Hence our answer is D. Moving on to the next question. Okay. What does the question read? Which of the following statements are correct in respect to the types of majority in parliament? Okay. In this particular question, now if I was to go through it, what I would know, I would absolutely know at least 3 kinds of majority, because they are repeated in the books of polity. I will at least know 3 kinds of majorities. I will know what absolute majority is. Alright, I will know basically what absolute majority is. Absolute majority is used for the purpose of impeachment of the President of India. Okay, I missed a question. I'm so sorry. I'll go back. Okay. Chalo. I'm so sorry. Chalo. Which of the following statements are correct with respect to bills introduced in parliament? Okay, first statement, if a government bill is rejected by the house in parliament, it amounts to vote of confidence in the government. Obviously not. Nahi ho sakta na, this cannot happen. If government bill is rejected, how can it show that the house has confidence in the government? If any initiative by the government is rejected by the house, it does not show in any way that the house has confidence in the government. The first statement by logic is wrong. Forget about constitutional provisions, by logic it is wrong. Second statement, the government's bill introduction in the house necessitates a 15-day notice. This is a factual information. It does not require 15 days notice, it requires 7 days notice. 7 days notice. Okay, 15 days notice anyway will not be required for a government bill. 15 days is a longer period of time. Obviously, that kind of notice will not be required. The first statement is wrong, second is wrong. Obviously, without going to third and fourth statement, you have got the answer, and the answer will be C. The answer will be C, 3 and 4. Now moving on to the next question. Dekho, this question, it is a fine example of elimination method. It is a fine example of elimination method. If I go through the constitution, I will know at least 3 types of majority. First is simple majority, second is special majority, and third is absolute majority. I will know about these 3 types of majorities. Okay? And I need to know only about these 3 types of majorities for the purpose of solving this question. So, pehla question, first statement, if I go through the question, what does the question read? Which of the following statements are correct in respect of types of majority in the parliament? Okay. The first type of majority, absolute majority, more than 50% of the house's total strength. Obviously wrong. Absolute majority is a majority which is used only for the purpose of impeaching the President of India, and that particular majority requires 2/3 of total strength of the house. 2/3 of the total strength of the house. majority is which is actually very difficult to get. All right, which is very difficult to get. So I know the first statement is wrong. So obviously, which effectively what will happen is which options will get eliminated? Option A will get eliminated, option D will get eliminated. Now I have to deal with 2, 3 and 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay. Second statement, simple majority. Majority of more than 50% of those present and voting, absolutely correct. Second statement is correct. We know that also because in B and C, option B and C in both, second statement is present. Let us basically go to fifth statement. Why? Because I know about fifth statement. I basically know about special majority. Okay. And that is the determining factor between option B and C. That is the determining factor between option B and C. B and C has statement 2, statement 3. They are common. Statement 2 and statement 3 are common. What is the difference? In statement B, in option B, we see fifth statement. In option C, we see fourth statement. Fourth statement, I may not know that much because I have not read that, I have not read that much about effective majority, effective strength. I have not read that much. Any polity book does not cover it to large extent, though it is mentioned in your polity book. Special majority is mentioned at many occasions. Okay, let us read it. Majority of 2/3 members of the total strength of the house. Absolutely not. It is majority of 2/3 member present and voting. Sorry, present का spelling I got it wrong. Present and voting plus 50% of total membership. Fifth statement is wrong. That means fourth has to be right. All right, fifth statement is wrong, so fourth has to be right. So what we will do is we will mark C to be the right answer. C to be the right answer. All right, moving on now to question number 6. Moving on now to question number 6. Which of the following statements are correct with respect to sittings of parliament? This is one of the questions which I will not attempt. I will not attempt because it is extremely factual and it is derived from sources that are not known. Sources that are normally not referred to. Dekho, in prelims na, be it UPSC or be it state services, my friends, you have to consolidate your reading list. If one of question is from a source that you do not know, then you should not, go behind that particular source. The best option available is if you can build a map, if you can connect, then attempt that question. Otherwise, let the question go. In prelims examination, it is as important to leave a question as it is to attempt a question. If you are not aware of the answer to the question, if you are basically not aware, if you do not know anything with respect to that question, now leave it. Leave it. Otherwise, the question will take with it the negative marking. So leave the question rather than attempt it. I'll explain it to you. I'll explain the answer of this question. But this is what I would have done. I would have not attempted this question. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of sittings of the parliament? Okay. In the year 1955 of Lok Sabha committee had proposed a timetable for parliamentary sessions with 3 times a year. Okay, this statement is correct. First statement is correct. In 1955, such committee was established and it did recommend that session should be held 3 times a year. Lok Sabha had established such committee. It suggested budget session from February 1 to May 7. Absolutely. The committee had suggested February to May for budget session. Rest of the 2 statements are factually wrong because months mentioned there are wrong. Alright, months mentioned in this particular statements are wrong. Prelims is not about attempting those questions which are difficult or which cannot be attempted and getting them right. Prelims is about attempting those questions which you can attempt in the right manner. Whether you know that answer 100% or you may have to guess based on your knowledge, based on the foundation of your knowledge. Prelims is not about attempting this kind of questions. Prelims basically is about avoiding this kind of questions. And that is what we train our students in GS core. Don't go for each and every question. Go for the questions that will help you cross the line. Line cross, you have basically आपको line cross करना है. Basically you have to cross the line. ठीक है? The competition is not about attempting question. The competition is about attempting the questions and translating those questions into correct answer. The competition is of conversion, not most attempts. Attempts have to be strategically thought about. So what is the answer to this question? It is C1 and 2. It is C1 and 2. Moving on to the next question, friends. Okay, this is a conceptual question. यहाँ पे your concepts will be tested. Let us look at this question. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of procedure established by law and due process of law? Under the principle of procedure established by law, as long as the government follows the procedure it has established, its actions are considered valid even if they may appear unfair or unjust to an individual 100%. If a law is passed according to the procedure that has been set for the purpose of passing the law, even that law, if it has unfair clauses, that law will be applicable and nobody can say that that particular law is not legal in nature. If the law is passed according to the procedure that was created for the purpose of passing the law, then that law will be executed. That law may be unfair, that law may be catastrophic, you can add any other adjective to it, but that law will be implemented and it cannot be said that this particular law is illegal. That is procedure established by law. Britain follows it. We have taken procedure established by law from Japan. Okay, this mistake many students conduct. Procedure established by law we have taken from the Japanese constitution. Due process of law doctrine not only checks in if there is a law to deprive the life and personal liberty of a person, but also sees if law made is fair, just and not arbitrary 100%. Due process of law will not only look into the process, if process is followed or not, the right process is followed or not for making law. It will also look into whether the law is fair or not, whether the law gives opportunity to the accused of being heard or not. That is what due process of law will do. It will look into the intention of law. It will look into the intention of law, and intention has to be right. Due process of law we have started applying in India since the Menka Gandhi case. Alright, although our constitution in article 21 mentions only procedure established by law, but then we have said intention is also important, so courts will look into intention also. First time it did it was in the Menka Gandhi case. Third statement, procedure established by law is an American doctrine. No, it is a British doctrine. And due process of law is Indian constitutional doctrine. No, it is an American. Due process of law is American doctrine. Okay, which of the statements are correct? Statement 1 and 2 are correct and statement 3 is not correct. B is the right answer. B is basically the right answer. Okay, moving on to question number 8. Easy question. Easy question. Again, one of those questions now where you have to pick the most right answer. Which of the following, while pursuing common interest of their group, attempt to influence public policy making? Pressure groups. Okay, it is basically pressure groups. The rest I will say, देखो, what is the difference between pressure group and political parties? Pressure groups are the groups na that want to influence decision making but do not want to get into politics directly. That is done by political parties. And pressure groups are of different type. Pressure groups के अंदर, inside pressure groups, what you will see? You will see different kinds of pressure groups. Elite group is one of the type. Even bureaucrats have their own pressure groups. ठीक है, so that they can make government aware of their requirements, let the government know of their demands. Farmers have their own pressure group. Industries have their own pressure group. For example, SOCM. For example, CCI. So pressure group is the broader umbrella. Elite groups, pressure groups of unions of bureaucracy, farmer movements, ठीक है, industries का group, they are part then of the broader umbrella of pressure group. Therefore, pressure group is the right answer. Difference between pressure group and political party: pressure group do not want to get involved in the politics directly. They do not fight elections. Political party do. Although both want to influence public perception, public policy. Moving on to question number 9. Okay. Question number 9. During which part of public policy cycle does the government explore potential policy response? देखो, potential policy response मतलब what the response can be of the people. Government will evaluate it at the time of policy formulation. ठीक है, at the time of policy formulation itself, government will look into whether a particular policy will be liked by people or not liked by the people, or what will be the reaction of the people, what basically will be the reaction of the people. ठीक है, चलो. Then we go to next question. Which of the following are the features of good governance? Which of the following basically are the features of good governance? The paper has the tilt towards public administration, okay? But then the tilt is not that much. All right. If you apply your mind, you will get the answers. All right, you will get the answers. So, for example, good governance. Now, we had asked this particular question in our test series, and students were actually a bit confused because questions with respect to good governance normally appear in subjective type exams. But you have to know, you have to basically know the core of good governance. All right, if you aspire to be a bureaucrat, a civil servant, you have to know the core or crux of good governance. So, chalo dekhte hain. Which of the following are the features of good governance? Accountability, absolutely. Accountability has to be there. Conservatism, no. Good governance means you should be basically open to try new things so that people get best services. You know, people get the best services from the government. So conservatism is basically against the concept of good governance. Rigidity, no. Good governance requires government and the bureaucracy to be flexible. If a particular thing is not working, then what has to be done? The way in which the program is implemented has to be changed. You cannot be rigid. We will do the work in this fashion only. Transparency, yes. Bilkul. Integrity, 100%. The person who implements the project should have integrity. He should basically showcase to the people what has been achieved and what more needs to be done for the purpose of public policy. Micromanagement, not at all. Good governance requires decentralization. Micromanagement talks about centralization. Okay? So good governance is in favor of decentralization. Micromanagement inclines towards centralization. All right. So कौन से statement हमारा right है? Which statements are right? 1, 4 and 5. 1, 4 and 5 are mentioned in D. D is the right answer. So moving ahead now. Question number 12. This was one of the questions in which you required to think. It was not a difficult question, just thoda sa complicated. Which of the following are true about public policy? It is the way of doing things, including rules and regulation. Obviously, public policy is about rules, laws, regulations. Second statement, it is a means of authoritative allocation of values. Of course, when you make public policy, you make them on the basis of certain values. Also, you make them on the basis of how those particular values are to be taken to the people. It is for public sector organization. Correct. If here the word only would have appeared, na, so statement 3 would have been wrong. Because public policy is not only for public sector organization, it is basically for all the entities in India or all the entities in the country. So because the word only here is not present, statement 3 is right. Fourth statement, what the government chooses to do or not chooses to do. This is the crux of public policy. This statement is the crux of the term public policy. Okay. So which option is right? All the above. D is the right option. Moving on, question number 13. Okay. Which one of the following statements is correct in respect of Article 21 of the Indian Constitution? All right. It guarantees right to life and personal liberty. One of the smallest articles of the Indian Constitution, but one of the most effective ones. One of the articles on which Supreme Court has given maximum interpretations. Okay, smallest article because Article 21 guarantees right to life and personal liberties to everyone in India. And wahi pe we also find the term procedure established by law, about which we had discussed some time back. So it guarantees right to life and personal liberty. Yes, that is the right answer. In the case of Narmada Bachao Andolan versus Union of India 2020, Supreme Court held that right to water is not a fundamental right but a legal right. This statement is wrong. In this case, Supreme Court held right to water is a fundamental right. Hence, second statement is wrong. Right to water is inferred from right to life. Yes, Supreme Court said that we are inferring, we are extending right to life. We are extending right to life to mean that right to life also involves right to water. Fourth statement, the Supreme Court also held that access to clean water is a natural right. No. This the Supreme Court did not say. What are natural rights? Natural rights basically, dekho, I'll not get into the details of it, but there was something called a social contract theory. Alright, there was something called a social contract theory. Now what does social contract theory say? Social contract theory says that at one point of time there was no government. Then what happened was people came together, and because there was no government, because there was no sovereign, there were problems in the society. So people came together and they basically created government. While creating government, they gave government all the rights other than natural rights. Natural rights are now those rights which were with the people even when there was no government. For example, right to life, right to property. Okay. These were the rights which were held by the people even when there was no government. So social contract theory basically says that even if government is created, government cannot take away these rights, because these rights were with people even when they were in the state of nature. No such thing has been said by Supreme Court. देखो, natural law is something जिसका whose jurisdiction is basically at this point of time not recognized that much. Alright, what we have done is we have incorporated natural rights into our law. Hence, studying natural rights separately is not needed. Or even Supreme Court or the judiciary looking into natural rights separately is not needed. So Supreme Court of India also has not done it. Statement 2 is wrong, statement 4 is wrong. The answer is 1 and 3, that is A. Question number 14. It is one of the easiest questions. From which constitution suspension of fundamental rights during emergency was borrowed to Indian constitution? It is Weimar Constitution of Germany. Okay, B is the answer. One of the easiest questions. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of right to education? Article 21A of the Indian Constitution. Article 21A of the Indian Constitution provides right to education for free and compulsory education to all, not all, only children in the age group of 6 to 14. Okay? 6 to 14. The only thing which is wrong with this particular fundamental right is children se pucha nahi. Nobody asks children na if they want to go to school. Okay. Next statement is wrong. Statement 2, Right to Education Act was passed by Indian Parliament on 4th August 2009. It is right. Factual information, but it is right. It was first passed by Rajya Sabha and then on 4th August it was passed by Lok Sabha. So we can say Indian Parliament in toto passed it on 4th August 2009. Right to education came into force on November 14 November 14 2009. This statement is wrong. Take it. It came into effect on 1st April. It came into effect on 1st April, not 14th November. Fourth statement, Article 21A was inserted in the Constitution by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2004. This statement is right. So statement 2 and statement 4 are right. Dekho, in this particular question, again I will say this is one of those questions which I will not attempt. I will not attempt because here I am aware about statement 1, I am aware about statement 4. Statement 2 and 3 I may not remember. Because of its factual nature. Alright, and through elimination method I could not get the answer. I would have therefore not attempted this question. So answer to this question is 2 and 4. D is the answer to this question. Okay, now getting to right to privacy. this was something, this was a question. Normally, if you ask me about the statements provided along with the question, I would have said ki a candidate must have left this question. But because right to privacy is so much spoken about, and because upon right to privacy so many editorials we read, so this question could have been answered. This question could have been easily answered by the aspirants. ठीक है, अब ये क्वेश्चन देखो, let us look at this question. Which of the following are related to right to privacy? Article 21 of Indian Constitution, no brainer, required over here. Article 12 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, yes. Article 17 of International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, yes. Article 8 of European Convention of Human Rights, yes. All of the above. Why I say you must be knowing all this? Because there are so many editorials on right to privacy, and all those editorials do mention this article. They do mention these articles. Hence, what should be your answer? Answer should be D, all of the above. Moving on to the next question. Now, this is one of the questions. Again, I will say, because of current affairs, you must be knowing answer to it. Otherwise, you were not required to know in which article is right to nationality. So, what is this question? Which article of Universal Declaration of Human Rights tells that the right of nationality depends on one's own wish? Everyone has the right to nationality. Article 15. Why do I say that this was required by you people to know? Because in India we do face a problem of Rohingya refugees. Alright, and there are consistently in newspapers consistently articles do come on them. And whenever articles come on them, Convention on Immigrants is something that you read about, and second thing that you read about is Article 15 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These two things will be present in that particular news article or in that particular piece of editorial. Hence what I feel is knowing about Article 15 was important. ठीक है, चलिए. Consider the following pairs in respect of sources of Indian Constitution. Again, one of those questions like जो वेमर Constitution पे था ना, question like that. Consider the following pairs in respect of sources of Indian Constitution and pick up the right matchings. Office of Governor, Britain, obviously not. England is a unitary country. They do not have states, and if they do not have states, what's the work of governor over there? Khatam. Wrong. Public Service Commission, 1935. It is right. Freedom of trade and commerce. USA, देखो, USA has freedom of trade and commerce. ठीक है, it does have freedom of trade and commerce. But the model of our trade and commerce, the model that gives our states or people of India, basically people of India, the freedom of trade, it comes from Australia, not USA. That model we have, acquired. Article 301, ठीक है, उससे आगे we have acquired it from Australia, not USA. The language of preamble of the Constitution, we have adopted it from Australia. The language of the preamble of Indian Constitution has been acquired from Australia. So second is correct, third is correct. Our second is correct, fourth is correct. Our answer is C. Our answer basically is C. Okay. Question numbers, let us not go by question number, ठीक है. Which of the following articles of the Indian Constitution are not related? Article 12 and 36, they are absolutely related. Why? Because both talk about the definition of state. ठीक है. Next, just give me a minute. Next, Article 13 and 368. देखो, 13 talks about law related to amendment. and what will be the position of that amendment if it affects fundamental rights. Article 13 says na, if a particular law affects fundamental rights, then that particular law shall be declared to be null and void. And now that particular issue, and on this particular issue, what law means, there was a big Mahabharat from Shankari Prasad to Keshavananda Bharati. Alright, so Article 13 basically talks about amendment, and it talks about if a particular amendment is valid or not, looking into how it touches fundamental right. Article 368, it talks about the procedure of amendment. So yes, both are related. Article 22 talks about rights of a person who is under detention or who has been taken under detention. Article 22 talks about rights of a person who has been taken under detention. 32 talks about writs. Most importantly, if I talk from the perspective of 22, it talks about the writ of habeas corpus. So if a person is arrested without a genuine reason and without a proper process, then he can take up the help of Article 32(2) and get out of detention. Article 144 and 214, 144 relates to the powers of Supreme Court. Similarly, 214 talks about the powers of High Court. So what do we see here? All the four statements, all the articles in the four statements are related. I will mark D as my answer. Moving on, question number 65. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of lame duck politician? Lame duck politician is basically the person who is not able to acquire the office again. Alright, because of any reason, but that person was not able to acquire the office again. If I take into consideration the statements provided, having lost a re-election bid, yes. Choosing not to seek another term after expiration of his or her term, yes. Not getting into the office again is the definition, even if that person has chosen to do so. Third, no term limit running for particular office again. This statement is wrong. Fourth, abolition of the office after his/her official term. This statement is correct. This statement is basically correct. Hence, our answer will be 1, 2 and 4. Our answer will be 1, 2 and 4. A. Okay. Which of the following statements are correct with respect to basic structure of Indian Constitution? Okay, first statement, it is form of judicial review, of course. Basic structure is the court will look into if a particular amendment has caused destruction of any basic principle of the Indian Constitution. That is what in Keshavananda Bharati it was stated. If any amendment causes destruction to any basic principle of Indian Constitution, then what will happen is that particular amendment will be declared to be null and void. So it is judicial review. Judicial review is when judiciary takes a look at a law passed by the parliament. So it reviews it. It considers whether it should be considered legal or not. It considers whether it should be sanctioned or not. Second, it is used to test legality of any legislation by the court. Yes. The doctrine of basic structure of the constitution gave free hand to the parliament to amend any part of the constitution. No. Okay. It actually restricted the hands of parliament. It said that you can amend any part of the constitution, but you cannot touch the basic structure. Okay. So basic structure confined the amending powers of the parliament, did not give it a free hand. Statement number 4, the Constitution of India defines basic structure in the terms of federalism, secularism, fundamental rights and socialism. This statement is also wrong because Constitution never defined basic structure. Constituent Assembly never talked about basic structure. It is an innovation of the Supreme Court of India. Alright. The first statement is correct, second is correct, our answer is A. Entry 5 of the list 2 of 7th schedule of the Constitution deals with local government. Why I am so sure about it and why I expect you all to know about it? Because local government is something, as I had said earlier also, local government is something that UPSC and civil services also, state civil services commission also expects you to know. Okay? So any information with respect to local government, you have to keep it with yourself. You have to learn about, you have to read about it. I'm not saying ki sari books pad lo, go through all the books on local government. Whichever book you are using now, this information will be part of it. This information definitely will be part of it. Okay. So fifth entry of list 2 of 7 schedule deals with local government. All right, friends, it was all from my side. Thank you so much for going through the questions with me. As I told you, take a rest of 1 or 2 days and then decide upon the course of your action. If you are scoring well, will come up with expected cutoff also. If you are scoring well, what you can do is you can restart your preparation, and if you are not scoring well, it's okay. Take a decision with respect to further course of action, what it has to be, by consulting your parents, teachers. In any way, if you want our help, we are there for you and we'll definitely help you out. Those people who will be writing their mains will be again there for you, will guide you on how mains has to be tackled, or the next stage of the examination has to be tackled. Chalo, thank you so much. Bye.
Hello and welcome to GS Core Bhubaneswar everyone. So today we'll be discussing OPSC question which is held on today. The first question from Science and Technology. This is Science and Tech. So the first question is 1 light year is equals to roughly how many kilometers? It is asking kilometers. So light year means it is uh, light traveling the distance in a complete year is considered as the light year. The velocity of light is a 3 into 10 to the power 8. So it is traveling for entire year 365 days. So 24 hours. So this is 24. So if you calculate like that way, 24 hours plus 1 hour is 60 minutes multiplied by 60. So this is the distance traveled by the light in a particular year. Calculate this one, you will be getting 9.46 multiplied by 10 to the power of 15 meters. So it is asking in the kilometers. So this will be 9.46 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 meter. So 12 means it is a trillion. So this is approximately 9.5 trillion kilometers. So right answer is option D here, 9.5 trillion kilometers. So going to the next question. Jet fuel used in a turbine-based aviation engine mainly consists of petrol, diesel. So it is also called as white kerosene. White kerosene. So this is kerosene. It is not petrol because the serial number and octane number of a petrol and diesel is different than that of turbine fuel, because petrol engine or diesel engine को यदि consider करिए सेमान either compression ignition or spark ignition रे function करिए, but turbine engine needs lesser that is here certain and octane number. So for that reason it is kerosene is the right answer. So jet fuel is kerosene. So question number, so this question answer is option C. Next we can go for light emitting diode, LED is made up of. So diode obviously it is a semiconductor, but this is not silicon nor germanium. So this is gallium nitride. This is gallium nitride. This is used in a blue LED, so we can consider from light emitting diode. So this diode, di means two. This will be silicon and germanium. It is basically prepared, but this gallium nitride it produces light. But these are for amplifier and rectifier use kora jai silicon germanium diode and triode. But here for light emitting diode we are using gallium nitride. So right answer is option C here. So I think this is clear. So next we can go for the next question, that is meniscus rise in glass thermometer is due to change in. Now if in case of a glass thermometer there is a There is a tube, glass tube. It can be mercury, it can be alcohol thermometer. So meniscus, what is the meaning of meniscus? This is level, it is called as meniscus. It will be basically from top view. If you see, this is concave in nature. So if it is rising or falling due to change in it is asking what is changing due to which it is shifting, either going up or going down. So the volume is changing. Exactly what we can say, the volume of liquid or thermometric fluid is changing. And why this volume is changing? Because if thermometer को जदि पात्रे देले कि कार टेम्परेचर हायर अछि सेठी देला माने कोन हबो जदि क्लिनिकल थर्मोमीटर फिजिकल टेम्परेचर बॉडी टेम्परेचर मेजर करा जाय see the heat which is coming that is being absorbed by this one because of specific heat, or we can say heat capacity. But heat capacity is not right answer because heat capacity the heat को से store करिवो, store कला माने कोन हो तार temperature rise करिवो, temperature rise कला माने temperature, then the density reduces. Density reduces means density is equals to mass by volume. If density is reducing, volume is increasing, so temperature increases, density reducing, volume is increasing. So rise in temperature, the meniscus will go high. If temperature is decreasing, the density increasing, inversely proportional temperature and density. So in that case, due to change in density, the meniscus rise and fall in thermometer occurs. Okay, so now we can go for the next question. Glass of tap water, distilled water and sea water. So what is difference between tap water, distilled water and sea water? There is one difference, that is salinity or impurities what has been added or present. Distilled water is pure water, whereas tap water is impure water. Sea water, which is having higher density, salinity is 10, or density we can say 1025 kg per meter cube, is because of addition of salt. So in that case, when salt particle is present inside the water, then what will happen? The salt particle will not allow the water particles to create hydrogen bonding by which it can be converted from water to ice. So in that case, if higher salinity is present, the freezing point temperature will be getting down. That means you need to go to a low temperature to convert water into ice. So here what we can say, more pure water with a lesser temperature, it will be converting into ice. That means first which will be going to solidify distilled water, then it is tap water. As sea water is having higher salinity, then at the end sea water will be converting into ice. So right answer is option D. Hope it is clear. We'll again meet in the next session. Hello, and we are going to discuss environment and ecology questions which is asked on today's exam. So let us go to the first question of environment. We are discussing on set C. So every set, jekonosi set hela mane same question hi asche. So if you see the first question, greenhouse, it is on greenhouse gases. See pacharchi je gases that are trap heat. So obviously greenhouse gases kon karuchi, heat ko trap karuchi. Which of the following combinations are not included under the greenhouse gases? So greenhouse gases amar jo define heithla, that is defined under Kyoto Protocol. So in that Kyoto Protocol there are 6 greenhouse gases what we defined. So it is defined in Kyoto Protocols. In Kyoto Protocols there is 6 greenhouse gases that are defined properly. Jota ki hela kon carbon dioxide, CO2. Then it is your hydrofluorocarbon, perfluorocarbon, methane, CH4 methane, methane is there, and here we are having, so it is देखिए carbon dioxide अच्छी, methane अच्छी, carbon dioxide is there. Carbon dioxide जो water vapor कौन खासियत है, it is the most abundant greenhouse gas present in atmosphere सबुठु अधिका ग्रीन हाउस गैस प्रेजेंट अछि एटमॉस्फेयर जोटा हला सेटा कोन हमर वाटर वेपर सो कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड is not considered as a direct greenhouse gas, and sulfur dioxide is also not considered as a direct greenhouse gas boli consider kara jay nahi. If you see here, carbon dioxide, hydrofluorocarbon, perfluorocarbon and methane is there, so we can say nitrous oxide, N2O and sulfur hexafluoride is considered. These 6 are considered as the greenhouse gases or direct greenhouse gases. So this is considered the most effective greenhouse gas. It is most effective greenhouse gas को जायतला sulfur hexafluoride, जोटार global warming potential is tremendously higher than the carbon dioxide. So if you consider this information with respect to the greenhouse gases, so nitrous oxide and hydrofluorocarbon is also considered as the greenhouse gases, but which is not considered carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. But if you consider these two, they are also called as indirect greenhouse gases. एमानकु indirect greenhouse gases बोली कहा जाए, because by a chemical reaction only they can trap heat, otherwise they cannot trap heat. So right answer will be option C is right here. So next question we can go. The next question is, more than 90% of all nitrogen are fixed as ammonia, nitrates and nitrate. That means we are talking about nitrogen fixation method or nitrogen fixation at the roots of the leguminous crops. So leguminous crops this is leguminous crop, this is leguminous crop, this is leguminous crop. In which of the following plant nitrogen fixation does not occur? So it is rhizobium bacteria jogu hue. Okay, so we can consider oat is a cereal. So as it is a cereal, so obviously it cannot go for the nitrogen fixation, but these are all leguminous crops as a legumes. So that is why we can consider they are going for the nitrogen fixation at the roots, and they have nodules. So nodules and rhizobium bacteria jogu emane kon kari paribe, they will be going for the nitrogen fixation method. Nitrogen fixation. So that is why this one is the right answer, as it do not belongs to this family. So if you see, this is a bean family, oats considered to be grass family. Okay, so this is oats and barley and wheat, these are all considered to be the grass family. So these are not considered as a leguminous crops. So answer will be option D here. Let us go to the next question here. For the protection of a plants and animal species to provide that means here it is talking about the acts which are passed for the protection of environment as well as wildlife, that means water pollution, air pollution and environment pollution पे जो act passed है, which is correct. So this is basically fact based. So हमें समझते जानी चाहिए Wildlife Protection Act 1972 significant act. Then it is the Water Act बोली भी जोटा कहा जाए, Prevention and Control of Pollution 1974, that is correct. Here 1981 is correct. Here 1986 is correct. So this is basically fact. कोटा का बड़ा year टा मन रखिबार अछि, and here the answer will be option A is the right answer. So here option A is the right answer. So it is act. So we need to discuss like that way. Next, acknowledging the year of efforts of tribal people, considering 130 varieties of indigenous cultivators of rice. Koraput rice, GI tag. Koraput rice. If you consider the Koraput rice, this is also called as Kala Jeera rice. Kala Jeera rice, which is also called as a Prince of Rice. Prince of Rice. So this is GI tag of Koraput, coffee with demand. So this is adopted in which year, or basically important agriculture, that is GIAHS, Global Important Agriculture Heritage Site. Around 150 sites को identify करिया पे इधर try करा है. So here it is 2002 Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. So 2002 it is basically adopted. So here answer is option C, that is Food and Agriculture Organization of United States. जो उतरे कौन करा गला जे here Global Important Agriculture Heritage System. ग्लोबल इम्पोर्टेंट एग्रीकल्चर हेरिटेज सिस्टम हिसाब से कोरापुट को इंक्लूड करागला which is having high potential. So सेटा को 2002 रे अडॉप्ट कराइछि अकॉर्डिंग टू फूड एग्रीकल्चर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ यूनाइटेड नेशंस 2002 रे जोटा हितला सेतरा अडॉप्ट कराइछि. होप इट इज क्लियर. नेक्स्ट वी कैन गो फॉर द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. So the government of India had launched Project Tiger, the largest species conservation initiatives. So obviously we know Project Tiger is important because it is a keystone species. 9 tiger reserves were established in different states. So जदि देखिए माने कॉर्बेट tiger reserve is there, Similipal tiger reserve is there inside this particular 9 tiger reserves जोटा 1973 रे एस्टाब्लिश हेतला. बट धौलपुर करौली टाइगर रिजर्व को जदि कंसीडर करिबा ये एबे करेंट अफेयर रे थिला. इट इज एज ए 54th टाइगर रिजर्व which is established in Rajasthan. Obviously Rajasthan से established. So this option is in current affairs कि एटा एबे recently 2023 रे ही एटा को include कराइ छै as a 54th टाइगर रिजर्व हिसाब रे राजस्थान रो. So that is why what we can consider this is not the right answer. So which is not included. तमे जो माने भी current affairs से related थिबो कि धौलपुर करौली टाइगर रिजर्व as included as the 54th tiger reserve in India. So obviously answer will be option B. Nothing to discuss here more because all are present in 1973. केना सब नौटा मन रखिया को पडिबो. That means it is not needed if you have well aware about the current affairs. So this answer will be option B. Next question we can go. A marine protected area is essentially a space in the ocean where human activities are strictly regulated and these places are given special protection for natural or historic marine resources by local, state, territorial, native, regional or national authorities. So if you see Bhitarkanika is there, Malvan Marine Maharashtra, it is also there, Koringa in Andhra Pradesh, that is also there. But if you consider the Kerala re, that is Kodalundi Valley Kunna, Kerala ro Kodalundi Valley Kunna. So this is of Kerala which is included in marine protected area, but Periyar is not included in the marine protected area. Okay, Periyar, if you see Periyar river, if you consider this Periyar, this is Western Ghat, and here we have this is Western Ghat region, and here we have a Periyar river. Here is a dam, that is Mulla Periyar Dam. Mulla Periyar Dam, and due to flooding, see so flood be affected way, so it is very difficult to maintain this marine protected area, and it is also backwaters भी अच्छी city. So that is why जो festival हुए तापाई it is not easy to maintain there. So answer will be Kodailunda Valikunna. Okay, so this option A is right answer here. This is not included in marine protected area. So this is Valikunda or Kodalundi Valikunda. Okay, next question. United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, also known as Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro from 3 to 14th June 1992. Both important. This is called Earth Summit. This is also called as Earth Summit. Now, which among the following communication conference is correct? Kota correct says basically. So this is considered to be the one of the changing event for the entire world. Earth Summit region. This global conference was held on the occasion of a 20th anniversary of the first human environment. So this is Stockholm Convention, which is 1972 it occurred. 1972 hela mane kete hela 20th anniversary. This statement is correct. Then it focuses on impact of human socio-economic activity on the environment. Human socio-economic activity. So the motive of this one is here we are having how it is impacting. So sustainable development को रखी की नजर रखी की केमिति आम development विषय देखिबा. So here Kyoto Protocol, which is talking about this. So representative of 79 countries, this is around more than 150 countries participated in that. So statement 3 is a wrong one. So statement 1 and statement 2 is correct. So right answer will be option A, 1 and 2. 1 and okay. So So this question is option A is the right answer. Next we can go to the next one. Microsoft, the recipient of a UN Global Action Award, is now committing to remove from the environment all the carbon. Microsoft कौन कही? So it is effective from 2012. 2012 मसीहारू adopt होइछि. So from 2012 और जुलाई 2012 रु से कौन कही by 2030 Microsoft will be कौन करिवो सी जेते भी कार्बन प्रोड्यूस कर कार्बन नेगेटिव निजे हे जीवो. सो दिस विल बी कार्बन न्यूट्रल हे जीवो और कार्बन नेगेटिव हे जीवो, कार्बन नेगेटिव. एंड बाय 2050 जिते बेलु से एस्टैब्लिश दैट मींस 1975 रु जहां भी से प्रोड्यूस कर 2050 रु से ताकू एक्सट्रैक्ट करनबो और रिमूव करनबो. सो दैट हैज बीन committed by Microsoft. So answer is option B. From which year the company has adopted to become carbon neutral? को year रु 2012 रु से adopt करिछि 2030 पर्यंत से कोन हे जिवो कार्बन नेगेटिव मान निजे कार्बन जहां प्रोड्यूस कर जेसरा को ऑब्जर्व करिवो बाहर को एनवायरनमेंट को डिग्रेड करिवोनी. 2050 सुधा जिते भी से कार्बन प्रोड्यूस करिछि और हियर वी कैन से कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और एनवायरमेंटल पोल्यूशन पे कार्बन जति की प्रोड्यूस करिछि ताको से कोन करिवो आउथर रिसाइकल करे देबो. सो दैट हैज बीन कमिटेड बाय Microsoft. So this question is over. Next one we can go for World Environment Day is the United Nations Day of encouraging worldwide awareness and action to protect our environment. In 1972 the UN General Assembly designed 5 June the World Environment Day. This first celebration was under the theme Only One Earth, took place in 1973. So ये पचार जी डायरेक्ट को थीम टा which pair is not correct. 2023 solution to plastic pollution, that is correct. 2022 Only One Earth, that is also correct. 2021 ecosystem restoration, that is also correct. 2020 it is saying time for environment, so this is time for nature. Time for nature. So answer is option D, time for nature. So right answer of this question will be option D, time for nature. So we can go to the next question. Which of the following is associated with a Chilika Lake? Chilika Lake ऊपर कौन question तो सबु वर्ष गोटे गोटे question आसुची Chilika Lake ऊपर, so you need to focus over that. First Indian wetland under the Ramsar Convention. So Ramsar Convention रे Keoladeo of Rajasthan, Keoladeo and Chilika was considered as the first Ramsar site. से कौन हला first Ramsar site बोलिए. तार benefits कौन अच्छी तार कुछ खासियत कौन अच्छी, that is Irrawaddy dolphins. This is flagship species of Chilika. Chilika रे केवल गोटी ही प्रजातिर डॉल्फिन देखा जाते, that is Irrawaddy dolphins. Lucastine plains, obviously Rusiculia देवी. Lucastine माने कौन? Lucastine माने कौन? Lucastine माने होची जे लेक डिपोजिशन जो प्लेन produced by lake deposits. So this lake deposits जो formation होची that plain Utkal plain will consider kara jay, it is a part of Utkal plain. So this Lucastine plain is produced by, this is Chilika Lake. If you consider this is just like Chilika Lake. So this there is a barrier here. So this this is a brackish water lake or lagoon ame kahi pariba. This is Chilika Lake kuha jay, kintu eta actually lagoon why? Because it is separated by the sea a narrow barrier, and here Devi river and Rusiculia river and that means Brahmani and Devi river and Rusiculia river drain their water to Chilika Lake. So here it is producing plains, and that plains are considered Lucastine plains of Chilika. So which of the following is associated with Chilika Lake? So that is Lucastine plain, Irrawaddy river and Ramsar Convention, first Ramsar Convention. So 1, 2, 3 is the right answer. Hope it is clear. Next we can go for the next question. So next question is which of the following statement is correct in respect to first ever census of water bodies in India 2023. So in this census, the census enumerated total 24,540 water bodies across the India. This is 100% correct as per that census. West Bengal has the highest number of tanks. No, West Bengal, as per this record, West Bengal has highest number of ponds and reservoirs. Ponds and reservoirs. Tamil Nadu has highest number of tanks. This is correct. Tamil Nadu has highest number of tanks. Andhra Pradesh leads in the conservation. No, not Andhra Pradesh. This is Maharashtra. This is Maharashtra leads in maximum or the leads in water conservation scheme. So right answer will be option 1 and 3. 1 and 3. Okay. Thank you. এটা বন্ধ করতে এই কোশ্চেনটা
Hello students, welcome to the discussion of OPSC-OS 2022, and now we will be taking up the questions from Indian economy. I hope your exam went well. With the changed pattern, we have seen the dynamics of the question which were asked in this particular paper changing. But the good news is that the students who were associated with us, we have been working on the change pattern, and that's what worked out for us. Now we'll be getting into the details of Indian economy and economics. So in the particular questions related to this subject, one thing you will notice that none of the questions, there were around 11 questions from this particular topic, including current affairs, but none of the questions were centrally around the concepts. The question were related to concepts, but they were directly linked, dynamically linked to the concept, current affairs, and the concept had little role to play there, but the current affairs had major role to play there. Furthermore, not just current affairs, if you have done the current affairs part, you would need to pay attention to the detail to get to the answer, because there is a part of the question which is factual, and if you have paid attention to the detail, you will be able to get to the answers as you are expected to. And as we know, in the preliminary stage of this exam, it is less about knowing the answer, it is more about identifying the answer. So there has been enough detail in the questions to know and then identify the answer. But as I said, two things have to be kept in mind. The first thing is the connection to the current affair. Once you would have been preparing, you need to know where this question is coming from. And the second thing is, of course, attention to the detail. So with this note, let's start with the first question we have here. I have not used the question numbers because it leads to confusion. Different sets have different question numbers. But the first question, let's see here, it is about inflation targeting. Now, inflation has been in very much news this year. If we talk about retail inflation, if we talk about wholesale inflation as well. And now another topic that has been taken, that is Reserve Bank of India. Now, two topics that have been very much in the news, they have been asked here. Now, let us see what are the statements there. We are asked to consider the following statements, and then we have to look into the statements which are correct. The first statement says, in May 2016, the RBI Act 1934, the original act through which RBI was established, was amended to provide a statutory basis for the implementation of the flexible inflation targeting framework. Now, if anybody would have been following the inflation related current affairs, this has something that has been mentioned through and through. Yes, RBI Act 1934 was amended in 2016, and why it was amended? Because they needed a statutory basis so that inflation targeting framework which is in place, that could be given a statutory basis, and it should be flexible. So this statement is correct here. Now if we move to the second statement, now this is a little factual part, but these facts we expect a student who is going through the current affairs and revisiting, revising, as well as going through editorials. This information, this factual information is not new and it is not coming out of the blue. So let us look at the second statement. Under section 45ZA, the central government, in consultation with RBI, it determines the inflation target, and it is determined in terms of CPI, that is Consumer Price Index. It is determined in the terms of CPI. Now this statement, even though factual, but it is correct, and it is done once in 5 years. Now if we move to the third statement, on March 31st, 2021, the central government retained the inflation target of 6% with the tolerance band of plus minus 2% for next 5 years, and that is April 1, 2022 to March 31, 2026. If you see in this statement, a lot of facts have been given, but we need, as I said, we need to keep our attention to detail. As we all know that the target is not 6%, it is 4%. The target is 4% and the band has been kept plus minus 2%. That is why it ranges from 2% to 6%. The target has been kept 4%, but it can range plus minus 2. It can be plus 2, it can go to up to 6%, and it can go to 2%. So this has to be the range in which it is kept, and as it is determined every 5 years, for the next 5 years it has been kept in this range. Now through this analysis we easily come to that these two statements are correct, and the answer is here 1 and 2. In such questions, the role of elimination is very much present. How can we see that? If you are aware about this detail, you will be automatically be able to rule out B, C and D, and you can arrive at this even if you are not aware of these two particular statements. With this, we will be moving to the next question, that is on MG Narega. Now, it is not just on MG Narega. If we see, it has a lot of elements in this question, and again all these elements are being sourced from current affairs. So for this particular subject, I would say for economics and Indian economy, the source of questions is less from concepts and more from current affairs, as we discussed in the start. So MG Narega is recognized as core of the core scheme for achieving sustainable development goals in India. Now you can see MG Narega is being talked about here, and MG Narega was reported in the Voluntary National Review. Now this is another thing that has been taken from current affairs. Now what is Voluntary National Review? Basically, Voluntary National Review is the report that is generated by a country on its own, which tells on what track that country is in terms of Agenda 2030, that is Sustainable Development Goals. In that reference, what they are asking, MG Narega has reported by the government for its contribution to certain SDGs. Now, what are those SDGs? To which SDGs MG Narega is contributing directly? Now, even if, let's just assume you might not have read this particular review or report, but this question is where you can use the application and your understanding to come down to a particular answer. Now, let us look at the first SDG which is mentioned here. SDG 1, no poverty. Now, MG Naregas promises to provide employment of 100 days in the rural areas for constructive works, which enables the goal of achieving no poverty. So obviously this is there, this is part of it. Now, if we move similarly to the next one, SDG 2, which is zero hunger, MG Naregas does not directly address it, that is why it will not be taken. SDG 5, which is gender equality, and SDG 10, that is reduced inequalities, these are related to MG Naregas. How? When we are talking about employment for 100 days, it is available in rural areas for men and women both. So it is enabling gender equality. Then reduced inequalities, that is the wide gap which exists between the rich and poor. So if the poor or the minorities, economic minorities will get the opportunity to earn, it will reduce the inequality. So it is addressing both of these. That's how our answer becomes 1, 3 and 4. Many of the students might not attempt this question only after seeing this is related to voluntary national review, and they might not know it. So I would suggest the students to not panic by just seeing 1, 2, 3 statements and leaving the question. These are certain questions which you will be able to attempt once you read them thoroughly. With this, I'll be moving to the next question here. This particular question is about poverty line. Now, here we can see this question is related to assertion and reasoning. Now, in the change format, assertion as reasoning is not restricted to any particular subject, and it is being used in economics as well. Now, let us look at the statement first and then try to come to a particular answer. The first statement says, poverty line estimation The first statement says the poverty line estimation in India has been based on consumption expenditure and not on the income levels. So, if you would have been reading the concept of poverty, as I said, the questions majorly in Indian economy have been asked related to current affairs, but concepts have not been given a miss. So, this is one type of a question. If you would have been going through the static part related to the poverty chapter, you would understand that in India, whenever the poverty line has been estimated by various committees, it has been based on consumption expenditure and not on the income levels. So this statement is correct. We know this. Statement 1 is correct. Now let us move to the second statement. It is difficult to assess income of self-employed people, daily wagers, daily laborers, etc. and there may be large fluctuation in income due to seasonal factors. Now let us see this in terms of India, because we are talking about Indian economy here. In India, majority of the population is based in the primary sector. Now the primary sector will have self-employed people also, so will the secondary sector and wage laborers. Now if we are trying to come up with a poverty line, it should be made keeping the general population in consideration, and the fluctuation in income is seen because of the seasonal changes. So it is not the appropriate measure. So that is why the appropriate measure becomes consumption expenditure. Now this reason is correct. Now these two statements, both of the statements are correct. Now let us see, is the second statement correct reason for the first one, which I have just explained, because specifically for India, giving the enormity of the informal sector which we seen, given the enormity of primary sector we seen, it is not possible to take income as the measurement for the poverty line. So that is why we take consumption expenditure. So here both 1 and 2 statements are correct, and the statement 2 becomes the correct explanation of statement 1, which was said by Tendulkar committee as well in their recommendations. So with this we come to the answer. The correct answer for this question is B. Now let us move to the next question. This is a pretty direct question rooted in concepts. If you have covered your concepts very well, this question is not going anywhere. The question directly asks, which of the following terms are the components of forex reserves? So when you're talking about foreign trade, when you're learning about foreign trade, common components of forex reserves are the basic thing that we understand. And let us see, are these four the components of forex reserve or not? So if we talk about foreign currency assets, yes, they're component of forex reserve. Gold, yes, that is also a component of forex reserve. Special drawing rights, yes, that is a component of forex reserve. And the reserve in International Monetary Fund, this is the statement that might have confused few of students, because I'm sure these three are the ones you would have known, not just because you have been reading about it, these make appearances in the news as well. But the fourth one might have been the confusing one, but it is also a component of forex reserve. So the correct answer here is D, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is one type of question that shouldn't be left by you at all, and hopefully shouldn't be attempted wrong also by all of you. On this note, let us move to the next question. Now this is one of those questions which I talked about in the starting, that the questions are from the perspective of current affairs and you need to have familiarity with the current affairs to know the details which are coming here. So you need to pay attention to the details, and I am sure if you have been familiar or you are in the habit of going through current affairs, these questions are not going anywhere. Now, starting with this question, which of the following statements is not true? I need all of you to understand, first of all, to remember this. Most of the students leave their marks here. They are asking which is not true in relation to PM Vishwakarma scheme. Now, the first statement, it was launched by the President of India on 17 September 2023. Now, this statement seems correct. For the time being, let's just assume that this seems correct, and let's see the other statement. It is a central sector scheme. What is a central sector scheme? Central sector scheme is the scheme which is being taken care, which is being funded through and through by the central government. Centrally sponsored scheme jo hoti hai, in that states have a share in the funding. However, central sector scheme are the ones in which central government is responsible for funding. So this statement is correct. Yes, PM Vishwakarma is a central sector scheme. Then this particular scheme intends to provide recognition and holistic support to traditional artists and craftsmen who are working with their hands and elementary tools. This is one of the objectives, direct objectives of PM Vishwakarma scheme for the artisans who are working with very basic tools and their hands. They will be giving holistic support. And the furthermore objective is to integrate them into the MSME chain further from here on. So let's see the fourth statement. The scheme intends to improve the quality, scale and reach of artisan products and also integrate them with MSME value chains. So this statement is correct. If you have read about even a little bit, if you have not gone into the details of PM Vishwakarma scheme, this objective is pretty much clear. So apparently all these four statements seem correct. But now here is the time to go into the detail of this particular statements. If you see, it is clearly mentioned it was launched by President. No, it was not launched by President. It was launched by our Prime Minister. That is why A statement becomes wrong. And as the question is asking, which statement is not true? So the correct answer here will be A. The correct answer here will be A. With this, let us move to the next question, which is on GST. Now, GST is one such topic or theme which has been recurrent in state examinations, and this has been in news since the day it has been brought, this change tax regime has been brought out. Furthermore, the reason it has been in news through and through, there have been continuous changes, continuous reviews, continuous things to be added here. So this question makes very much sense to make appearance in the exam, and there are certain statements about it and they're asking if these statements are true. Let us look at the statements. GST is based on a system of concurrency of indirect taxes where every transaction attracts central as well as state GST. Now this statement directly explains us what GST is. It is just explaining what GST is in a better language, that it is coming together of indirect taxes and every transaction has two components of GST, that is central GST and state GST. So this statement is correct. With this we move to the second statement. GST replaced a production based taxation system by a consumption based taxation system. So this is one statement where I expect you students to be a little confused, because most of you would have been reading that GST has replaced origin based taxation system which was initially there, and now we have a consumption based taxation system. So I'm sure most of the students will be very clear about this part, but they might not be sure about this part. But production based taxation system is synonymous to origin based taxation system, and that is what this makes, that is what makes this particular statement correct. With this we have come to two statements which are correct. Let us look at the third one. It brings destination principle for cross-border trading, for which poorer and consuming states are benefiting at the expense of more affluent and industrialized ones. Now in this it is implying, again, because it is a consumption based taxation system and it is working on destination principle. Wherever is the destination, it will be taxed there. Wherever the consumption is happening, it will be taxed there. Now they are saying in the cross-border trading, for which poorer and consuming tax are benefiting. Is the statement correct here? Now whoever is consuming, they are not benefiting, they are the ones which have to pay the taxes, and they are saying that affluent or the good or hefty wealthy states are being compromised, which makes this statement correct. It's the other way around, that at the expense of these poorer and consuming states, the affluent and industrialized states are being benefited. So we have to understand that this statement is incorrect. So here only two statements are correct, which is only 1 and 2. With this, the correct answer will be A here, and we'll be moving to the next question. The next question here is about PLI. Now, a lot of students might be in the conundrum of not understanding where this question is coming from. But again, if you are in sync with the current affairs, if you are in the habit of, if you have been reviewing them, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, all these schemes have been having sub-schemes, and PLI is one of the prominent schemes in the same. So this particular question is asking which of the following statement is incorrect. They are asking which of the following statement is incorrect. It is important to remember what the question is asking. I'll suggest students that you should definitely highlight so that you remember what you are looking for. So the first statement says it is one of the several schemes as a part of Make in India initiative. Yes, that is true. It is part of the Make in India initiative and it is a sub-scheme there. It aims to incentivize manufacturers and promote domestic production. Yes, it aims to incentivize the manufacturing and promote domestic production. Furthermore, it also focuses on incentivizing the sales which are leading to increased domestic production. So this statement is also correct. This initiative contributes to enhancing self-reliance in the country, as I said when we were starting with the question, part of Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. So yes, this is also correct. Now looking at the last statement, this scheme is applicable only. Please remember, whenever there are statements specifically saying only, then we need to pay more attention to such statements. Only to pharmaceuticals, textiles and food processing sectors. Now it is highlighting only 3 sectors and it says PLI is limited to only these 3 sectors, which makes this statement incorrect, because PLI at present is applicable to 14 sectors out of 3, which are pharmaceutical, textiles, food processing, but there are electronic devices, auto components, etc. as well. So this statement becomes correct, and as the question had asked the incorrect statement, the correct answer here is D. The correct answer here is D. With this, we'll move to the next question we have. This is again a pretty direct question. If you are through with your content part, if your static part, this question is not going anywhere at all. This is one question that should be definitely attempted and definitely attempted correctly, right? This question is about NABARD. Now NABARD is entrusted with the responsibility of, so there are few options given and they are saying that NABARD serves as the role of facilitator of rural prosperity and it is entrusted with the responsibility of which of the following. We just have to choose one option. So whenever you will read about NABARD, that is the National Bank of Rural Development, you will understand it has one major role, and when you are going through, you are preparing for your exams, one thing that you should definitely understand is the importance of keywords. So if you would have covered this particular topic, one keyword would have definitely marked its presence, that is refinance. And if that was done, it is very easily marked question that the correct answer would be here A, providing refinance to lending institutions in rural areas. This is the direct answer. Let us look at the other statements also just for the clarity. Bringing about or promoting development of commercial banks. The purview of commercial banks does not lie with NABARD, it lies with RBI. So this statement is incorrect. Evaluating, monitoring and inspecting all banks in rural areas. Banks in rural areas can be commercial banks also, can be regional rural banks also, and again these banks lie in the purview of RBI. So this statement is also incorrect. With this, we move to the last statement. Monitoring all developmental projects in rural areas. Development projects in rural areas do not fall in the purview of NABARD. This is also incorrect. So the correct answer is A for this particular question. With this, we will be moving to the next question. This question is directly taken from the current affairs, the facts. There is presence of facts. But yet again, if you pay attention to the detail, and even if you have not gone into the depths of the current affair, which would have mentioned this, we have covered this in our magazines also, we have covered this in our test series also, but this is important to understand how the attention to detail has to be managed. Now let us look at the question. Which of the following statements are correct in respect of withdrawal of rupees 2000 currency notes from circulation, which was done by RBI this year? That makes sense why this question has marked its presence. Now let us look at the statements they are asking, which are of them are correct, right? Looking at the first statement, this move is part of RBI's compound note policy. Now, if you read this statement, only thing wrong here is the name of it. The move is part of a clean note policy that is being run by RBI. So this statement becomes incorrect. Second, the aim of this particular move is to provide public with high quality currency note which have better security features and they cannot be used as fake currency. The fake currency cannot be made out of it. So this statement becomes correct. Then rupees 2000 currency notes were introduced in the year 2015. Now this statement absolutely factual, but if you would remember the year of demonetization, then you will be able to remember that this was 2016, which makes this statement incorrect. I understand this statement is absolutely factual, but as an aspirant, we expect you to remember the year of demonetization, and that is when 2000 currency notes were introduced. So it was 2016. Now, printing of rupees 2000 currency notes was stopped in the year 2018-19. Even if you don't know this statement, you know first is incorrect, third is incorrect. So these are not going to be part of answer. So wherever you have first and third, that becomes incorrect. So automatically your answer is 2 and 4. But for a reference, let me tell you, yes, the fourth statement is correct, that the printing of currency note of 2000 rupees was stopped in 2018 and 19. Now let us move to the second last question we have here, and it is again rooted in current affairs. Now there has been a second edition of National Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index, which has been released by Niti Aayog, and we have to see which statements are not correct, that are given here. Now let us look at the first statement. Now a lot of facts have been thrown in here. It is important that we retain factual knowledge also, because that is such the nature of exam. Though it is evolving, though the change pattern is trying to break that, we have to keep that in mind. So we are looking for the statements which are not correct. Let us look in the first one. Look at the first one. 13.5 crore people escaped from multi-dimensional poverty. If you have read that report, or if you have read the highlights of it, even if you have not got into the details of it, you would know this is correct. Similarly, in rural areas, there have been a rapid decline in poverty. So the poverty has seen rapid decline, and sharpest decline that has been, it has been rural areas, and the figures that are given here that are also correct, that is 32.59 to 19.28%. Now let us look at the third statement. Bihar registered the largest decline in the number of poor individuals. No, the answer here is Uttar Pradesh registered the largest decline in the number of poor individuals. And moving to the fourth statement, the report covered a comprehensive analysis of poverty across 1075 administrative districts. The correct answer here is 707 districts. So the comprehensive analysis of 707 districts was done. So that makes the fourth statement also incorrect. So we have third and fourth statement which are incorrect. So the correct statement here are only 1 and 2, and that gives us the answer B. Now, even though rooted in current affairs, this question is of absolute factual nature. If you have given enough questions, you have marked enough questions, and if you feel this is one of those questions which you can think of not attempting, because you have to keep a balance in number of questions you are attempting and the ones you will be getting correct. So this is one of those questions, if you are not sure, if you don't know the details, you can think of not attempting this one. On this note, let us move to the last question we have here. Now the last question which is here, it talks about which of the following statements are correct in the respect of agreement on use of local currencies for cross-border transaction. Again, a question which is rooted in current affairs, but if you have not gone through this current affair in details, if you have even paid relatively a little attention to this, you will be able to mark it. Now let us look at the first statement. India and UAE have signed the memorandum in this agreement. Absolutely correct. This transaction, this agreement has been done between two countries, that is India and UAE. So that makes this statement correct. Second, this agreement enables a framework for trade settlements in their respective national currencies. So the trade settlements can be done in the national currencies. UAE can use UAE dirhams and India can use rupees for their trade settlements. This statement is also correct. This agreement was signed by the Prime Ministers of India and UAE. This statement is where it is not correct. It was not signed by Prime Ministers of India and UAE. Yes, it was finalized during the visit of Prime Minister in Abu Dhabi, but it was signed by Central Bank of UAE and Reserve Bank of India. It was signed by Central Bank of UAE, that is CBUAE, and Reserve Bank of India, that is RBI. So this statement becomes correct. Now let us look at the fourth statement. PK Intermark Limited and Reserve Bank of India were the first users of the system. Now, even if you were not aware if this is correct or not, if this agreement is being signed for trade settlement, RBI wouldn't be part of a trade settlement. It is a private firm here. So the answer here is Reserve Bank of India was not part of the first user. It was Yes Bank. It was Yes Bank. So that makes our third and fourth statement incorrect, and that brings us to the answer C, that is 1 and 2. With this, we have completed all the questions for Indian economy. As you must have seen through the 11 questions that we have done, that the questions have little to do with the concepts, but these concepts are very much in touch with the current affairs. So whatever concepts you are covering, they have to be done with the understanding of what is going around, because the probability of questions coming from such concepts and current affairs is higher. With this, I would like to conclude here. Thank you so much.